Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Truth Football Podcast. This week, we're going to be talking about some of our quick thoughts on the latest NFL news, going over some of the notable games from last week, discussing some players who are possibly on the trade block, and then also talking about some of the notable games and our predictions for next week. So let's get right into it. All right, let's get right into this. So first things first, we're going to get into our quick thoughts segment. And the first quick thought I want you guys to give me is on Josh Allen approaching Kevin Benjamin before the Bills game, asking him to run routes with him, and then Benjamin responding with, quote-unquote, no. What do you guys think about this?
I'll say that it does seem like Kelvin Benjamin has some chemistry problems. He didn't seem like he got along with Cam Newton either, but I also don't know if I'd want to warm up with Josh Allen. So I'm just gonna laugh at this one and not think too much of it because the Bills are kind of irrelevant.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really expect this. Or I would definitely expect this from a team like the Bills. But Kelvin Benjamin, yeah, I mean, I didn't really expect this when he came out of college. He got along with Jameis Winston quite fine. They had quite the chemistry together. So maybe he just needs to go play for the Buccaneers. But I think, that's pretty bad. Just to turn down your quarterback like that, especially when you've been in the league and he's a rookie and you've been in the league for a couple of years. I mean, that should just be a pretty easy decision to run a couple of routes. I mean, it's not that difficult. Just put in a little bit of effort,
No, I completely agree. I don't think Kevin Benjamin is really in the position to be telling his quarterback no either. It's not like he's this amazing star wide receiver. He's really been quite underwhelming since he's came in the league. So on to the next topic, talking about Josh Allen once again. So you know how NFL releases their next-gen statistics? Well, they released a ranking of quarterbacks when pressured, and at the top of that list ranks Phillip Rivers, Kirk Cousins, and Jared Goff, and Phillip Rivers has a 110.1. At the bottom of the top 10, Drew Brees has a 76.6. Let's get a guess from you, Reese, because I already told Ryan about this. What do you think Josh Allen's quarterback passer rating is when pressured?
I'd say it's probably... Wait, so Drew Brees was the bottom?
Was the bottom of the top 10 with a 76.6.
Oh, I'm going to say Josh is a 25.6.
That's lower than I guessed. I guessed a 40.
You are very wrong. It is a 1.6 as of today.
Well, that's pretty awful. No lie about that.
Is it safe to say right now that he has been the rookie who has struggled the most, at least as far as quarterbacks go?
I don't know if that's fair, but I mean, how many starts has he had to this point? Is he coming up on his fourth start now?
He's actually injured as of now and won't be starting this week, but I think he's probably had 4 starts.
I think that's still definitely the breaking in period. We're talking about someone that is still probably getting that offense under his grips, but it probably would be fair to say that he struggled, especially when he came out against the Vikings, kind of firing. I think we all kind of had fair expectations. I think the most impressive thing about his play, though, has been his ability to scramble, get out of the pocket, and he's shown that he'll kind of do anything to get in the end zone, which is impressive. But, yeah, he definitely has struggled quite a bit, and probably more than any of the other rookie quarterbacks for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. I like the way that he's been running for touchdowns. I think that's actually pretty awesome. But yeah, I mean, he hasn't had a big enough sample size to really judge him, and hopefully he can heal up from that injury. But it's pretty safe to say that he's struggled the most, considering that all of his games except the Vikings game haven't gone too well. But I don't know. We'll see. And then also, obviously, Josh Rosen has not been doing great in Arizona either. So he does have competition for struggling the most.
I think Josh Rosen might have the worst team around him, though. Well, he does have great weapon on the backfield in David Johnson, but They only go so far, you know.
Yeah, that O-line is brutal.
Yeah, I'm pretty much just going to repeat exactly what all of you are saying. I don't think it's really fair to judge a quarterback until he reaches like his third season or so. Um, there's been a lot of quarterbacks through NFL history that have been written off as busts and then have either a second year resurgence or go on to have just great careers. So I'm not going to write him off as of right now, but definitely as of now, he hasn't been performing the way Bills fans probably want him to.
That's definitely fair enough. Like I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. So another topic we've had this week is the Giants owner coming out and saying Odell needs to do a little bit more playing and a little less talking. Do you guys agree with that? I personally think absolutely. I think Odell's a great player, and I do think that he needs to be more productive before trying to call out his other teammates. However, at the same time, I understand his frustrations just signing a 5-year deal with this team and really there being no good end in sight.
I mean, I think in this case, I think it's fine for the owner to say that to Odell, but the fact that he let it get public or like made that public statement, that cannot happen. Because really all this is going to do is cause a rift between them. I mean, that just ruins the relationship with him and the team. And now you got the person that's highest up in the organization calling him out. Whether it be true or not, I just do not think that's healthy for Odell. It's not good for the owner to be doing that. But to be more on the question, I think Odell has definitely struggled this year. And I think the Giants have tried to create ways to get him the ball or to get him more production. And I think ultimately, like, wide receivers just go through slumps. I mean, they're not going to get, 10 catches every game. They're not going to get over 100 yards receiving. They're definitely going to have, like, boom or bust. And especially when you're kind of a hit-or-miss receiver like Odell, who either makes big plays or, doesn't really make them at all, you're definitely going to go through those, like, patches that are rough. So, I mean, sure, I think with his play so far this season, I think that's a fair enough statement.
I mean, I think Odell is usually pretty consistent in his production, but what I'm really blaming on this whole situation is going to be the guy throwing to him. Eli Manning just can't get it done. Odell's a guy who can go out and make those plays, and hopefully they can get a quarterback in this draft that can pair with Saquon and Odell for the future. It could be a good young offensive core. But in the meantime, the Giants owner cannot be starting public beef with Odell. That's a conversation that's definitely got to be kept in private if he feels that way. And again, I'm not really blaming Odell too much. I'm kind of blaming Eli here.
Exactly. He's saying exactly what is true. And I don't like that's coming out to the media, but I understand Odell's frustrations at the same time. But yeah, another thing that I was going to say is the Patriots have kind of developed a culture where even when there are frustrations, which it's been noted that there have been, they don't really come out. And I think that's been a big part of their long-term success is really keeping things to themselves, handling it internally, and making sure that everybody is happy, or at least everyone is able to voice their opinion, but just have that not be to the media. And then the next topic, or the final quick thought topic, is the NFL's top defenses this week have struggled a lot. The Bears, the Jags, the Rams, the Vikings all had pretty bad performances, specifically looking at the Jaguars and the Bears. The Jaguars lost 40-7 to Dallas, who we pretty much have been mocking since the season started. And the Bears lost to Brock Osweiler and the Dolphins, which was a terrible loss, okay? So with that being said, do you think that the league is going a direction where strong defenses can no longer be the focus of a team, and rather you just need to have a really good offense if you want to win?
So I'll go first on this one. I'll say that I think a stronger offense is probably the best way to go. I mean, I think it's really good to have a solid defense. But I think the turning point was kind of that Broncos team that went to the Super Bowl and then eventually won the Super Bowl. I think essentially what you need in the NFL is you need a high productive offense, and then you need a player on defense that can make a big play at a certain time. So, like, right, I'd say the Bears like fit in that category. Essentially, they have definitely a great defense, but they have a player like Khalil Mack that like can make a huge play. Those Broncos teams had Von Miller. I mean, still have Von Miller, who made some huge plays. So ultimately, I think you need a great offense, and then also a defense that can create turnovers and make a big play. I think creating turnovers are probably the most important part of the game right
Yeah, I think we go through phases of offensive emphasis and defensive emphasis. Like you said, Reese, a couple of years ago, we had the Wade Phillips defense with the Broncos. That team was led by their defense. That offense was not great. And then now I think that it's kind of coming back in the offensive direction with McVay and Nagy, those kind of guys who are really good at play calling and getting guys open. But first of all, I just want to say I think it's a little unfair that you included the Rams on this list. Only giving up 20 points to the Broncos in freezing temperatures, I don't think is a very bad performance. But as far as the other teams, I want to specifically look at the Jags giving up 40 points to the Cowboys. Like, what are you doing? Come on. If people want to take you seriously, you can't go and give 40 points to the Cowboys. Like, Jalen Ramsey needs to be embarrassed with himself for all the smack that he talked before this year to allow that to happen.
So here's another question now. Are the Jags, can they make the Super Bowl? Or is it at the point where we've just lost all faith in Blake Bortles being able to do anything?
I think they can make the Super Bowl just because that defense is so good, and I don't think the Patriots are invincible. But do I think that they are the biggest competitor for the Super Bowl besides the Patriots? No. I would definitely give that to the Chiefs right now. And I know we're going to talk about this later, but I would even consider putting the Ravens above the Jaguars at this point. But preseason, if you would have asked me, I definitely would have put Jaguars at number 2. So it's been disappointing to see them so far this year.
Yeah, you can put me on record and say that Jaguars will not be in this Super Bowl. Not a chance.
All right.
I think I'm on the same boat as you, Reese. When you look at Blake Bortles and how much there's a lack of consistency in that offense, I just I can't imagine a world where they're able to take out Kansas City and the Patriots, or a good team and the Patriots. Like, I feel like during the playoff run that I'm sure they'll make, because they're not in a great division at all, during that run, there's going to be a time where I just see this offense running null like it did against Dallas, and then they're out. So,
yeah, because let's remember that Dallas defense they're good, but they're nothing spectacular. Like, they shouldn't be able to shut you down like they did.
Yes.
They also shouldn't be able to put up 40 points on you.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Definitely not. Okay, so the receivers are Cole Beasley, and I want to say Michael Gallup and Allen Hurns.
Yeah.
Yes, bro.
And Tavon Austin plays a little running back, little receiver.
Don't sleep on Cole Beasley.
Okay, I'm not. But versus A.J. Bouye and Jalen Ramsey. How does that happen?
The little white slot receivers are slippery, bro.
I guess so, man. I guess so.
Seeing it through the ages. Wes Welker, fucking Eric Decker, Julian Edelman.
That's
you
true.
You can't stop these guys, man.
That's true.
I thought they had to be on the Patriots, though.
True too. And then I talked about this a little bit last week, and kind of going to get into possible trade scenarios later on in the show, but would it make sense for the Jaguars to either A, make a couple phone calls to Oakland and be like, hey, is Derek Carr available? Or B, pretty much give up their entire draft next year to try to get the top QB? Do either of those scenarios improve this team?
I think they gave too much money to Blake Bortles to walk back on it so quickly. They have to stick with their guns for a while longer. But if they did want to win, I don't even know who I would consider trading for. Maybe Tyrod. That doesn't seem like a good fix, though. I think they're kind of screwed at this point, to be honest.
I mean, yeah, I think it's a tough situation for them because, yeah, they really locked in Blake Bortles at the wrong time. So they have to make a move. I say you have to trade him. It's like a Brock Osweiler situation. You got to get rid of him like you can. You know, I think it's pretty similar to that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But kind of going off of that, what I was mentioning before, do you think Derek Carr would be that much of an upgrade over Brock Osweiler, or sorry, not Brock Osweiler, over Blake Bortles at this point, where it would make sense to give up a first-round pick plus for him at this point in the season?
At this point in the season, I don't think you make that trade.
You don't think so?
I think you have to ride it out at this point because you're talking about having to fit a quarterback back into a system.
That's a great point.
Yeah, I definitely think you got to ride it out at this point. Anything that you could do should be in the off season, not right now. It's too late.
Really sucks for them, honestly. Okay, so we're going to be getting into some of the notable games from last week. And one that I want to point out is the Chargers beating the Browns 38-14. And a question that I have for this is, are the Chargers a legitimate threat to the Patriots, or have they just beat up on bad teams these past 2 weeks?
The Chargers have beat up on bad teams the past couple of weeks. Yes, I think they are improving. I think they needed these couple of weeks to get their feet under them, you know, and kind of find their stride again. I think we're starting to see. I think we're also kind of noticing that they probably have one of the best running back duos in the entire league, with Eckler and Gordon. That's a pretty killer tandem. I think we're looking at a pretty dangerous team that probably needed these couple of weeks to like re-find out how dangerous they are. But I think the Chargers have a lot of potential.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, I would add the Chargers to the teams that I listed earlier that are more of a Super Bowl contender than the Jaguars at this point. I do like how the Chargers are playing, but they can be tricky in the regular season and then fall flat in the postseason. They are known to do that. So I don't know, but I do trust them at the moment. Yeah.
It seems like we're agreeing a lot on this show as of now. I would also pretty much echo exactly what you guys are saying. Is I do think that they actually are a legitimate threat to the Patriots. If they can get something going, on defense, if they can get something going on offense during a game versus the Patriots, I could easily see them being the Patriots, especially with the defense they have now. Okay, so another one is the Seattle Seahawks beat the Raiders 27-3, which is pretty brutal if you're a Raiders fan, considering the Seahawks are not considered to be too good of a team right now. But that brings up my question: are the Seahawks better than what we're giving them credit for?
I don't think so, man. I think, you know, a bad team's going to win a couple games. And they're also playing the Raiders, who have just I think they've even lost hope in themselves this year. They've kind of washed the season away. So, I don't know. I'd say it's a one-off game. Although we are looking at a Seahawks team that could very well finish second in that. Actually, they will finish second in that division. They're going to pick up some wins against the Cardinals. They're going to pick up some wins against the 49ers with Goff on. Or with Garoppolo.
Let me remind you guys also that they came close to beating the Rams, and they were in it at the end of the Bears game they played. Two other good teams. So, Ryan, what do you think?
Yeah, when I watched the Rams play the Seahawks, I was actually pretty surprised at how good the Seahawks were. They really are figuring it out with that running game. The first couple of weeks, they try to just pass it with Wilson too much, and that pass protection is just not there. So leading with the run game has worked pretty well for them. They will pretty much, I assume, win, 5 to 7 games. I don't see them being a real playoff competitor, but definitely better than the Cardinals and Niners. So, I mean, I don't know what else to say about them. They'll be okay, but nothing special.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think they have a lot of young talent on that team. I actually, you know what? I kind of disagree with you guys. I think they have a lot of young talent on that team that's better than people expect. When you look at their roster, you don't see a lot of big name guys. And I think it kind of works. I think what they have going on defense has kind of been working, and what they have been going on offense has kind of been working. I could see them squeezing out 8 wins in a scenario.
I think that's a little out of their reach, but I will say adding the Shaquem Griffin, I was definitely disappointed to see them do that as a Rams fan. But if I was a Seahawks fan, I'd be psyched about that.
I don't think 8 wins is out of the realm, to be honest. Just given like with how much the Rams are going to run away with that division, I think that really disheartens the other two teams. I think they pick up a couple sloppy wins, a couple wins outside the division. I could definitely see it happening.
I mean, in the AFC, I think they'd be more likely to do it, but the NFC is a little good.
By saying that, I also have not looked at their schedule this year.
The NFC West, I believe, plays the NFC South this year.
Oh. Wait, no, the NFC. Don't you guys play?
Oh
the
no,
North?
wait, they played the NFC North. Never mind. So that's still a pretty good division.
That is a pretty good division. That might make it a little bit tougher, but again, I just see them playing some dirty games and maybe sneaking out a couple more wins than people think. Okay, so here we're talking about the Ravens now, Ryan. I know you have some things to say about them. The Ravens beat the Titans 21-0. Are the Ravens a Super Bowl contender, and B, what the hell happened to the Titans? I thought we were thinking that they might be a little bit good.
Well, I think ever since we called the Titans a boring team, they just tried their best to prove us as correct as possible and become the most boring team ever. But yeah, I don't have a lot of faith in the Titans. I still think they can compete for that division because the bar is set really low in that division. To talk more about the Ravens, yeah, who I am more excited about. I really like the way that defense has been playing. I think they're probably playing at the highest level at the whole NFL right now. And I don't trust an offense led by Joe Flacco. But if they could start to work in Lamar Jackson more and more throughout the year, I don't know. I like what they can do. And I love Crabtree as a number one receiver.
I mean, yeah, the Ravens, I think they might be making the most out of a division that's finding itself. And I think the Steelers are finding themselves a little bit. But they can build up a little bit of an edge on them. And I think that's also a team that's built to kind of beat the Steelers, too. You know, that's the kind of defense that kind of drives, Ben Roethlisberger crazy and kind of causes that offense not to function well. I could see the Ravens making a good push. And it's kind of, Ravens are always one of those like sneaky teams that can really come in any week and kind of beat any team. And we've seen John Harbaugh can coach in the playoffs as well. So,
and we remember the pretty ridiculous way that they got kept out of the playoffs last year. So that's in the back of their minds as they're coming down the stretch.
That's for sure, 100%. Yeah, that was crazy.
Definitely true. I'm pretty reserved when it comes to the Ravens. I remember watching the Bears beat them last year, and I was just not impressed because any team that the Bears last year beat just really didn't impress me that much. And I definitely understand with what you're saying, Ryan. I do think last week they were clearly the best defense in the NFL, obtaining 11 sacks in one game. I don't think I've ever seen a team do that before. But I don't know. I think that I kind of feel like once they face some really smart offensive minds that they might actually be they actually might get beat up on. The next game we're going to talk about is the Bears losing to the Brock Osweiler-led Dolphins 31-28. Again, as I was saying before, this was an absolutely terrible game to watch as a Bears fan. Pretty much nothing went their way the entire game. And I can see you guys laughing as I'm trying to explain this because I myself am trying to comprehend this loss as well. However, I do think that this was a game that will not define the Bears' season. There were a lot of bad, terrible officiating calls in that game. One specifically has made its way all over Twitter, which was the Leonard Floyd roughing the passer penalty, where he was literally trying to block the ball from being thrown, and he hit Brock Osweiler's arm, and they called it a roughing the passer. Another notable terrible call that I saw was an OPI off of a rub concept, which just isn't a thing in the NFL. And then they were just, even on the Dolphins side, there were some bad calls against the Dolphins. But at the end of the game, what I saw is just a team that looked, a defense specifically, that looked absolutely exhausted the entire game. The tackling was terrible. Brock Osweiler's 380 passing yards, which, yes, is absolutely ridiculous, 274 of them came after the catch. So, in a way, we weren't really losing to Brock Osweiler. We were more losing to Albert Wilson, but nonetheless, a terrible performance by the Bears. What do you guys think about that?
I think in general, I mean, yeah, it's kind of a one-off week. I don't think the Bears will be paying for it coming down the line. I think the Bears can still walk away with their division. Not easily. I don't mean like walk away easily, but if it does come down to a game and let's say they miss out by one, they're definitely going to be looking at this one and they're not going to be feeling good about it. You come in with Brock Osweiler, who we know is not very good. Like you said, I think the yards after catch kind of puts more of the blame on the Bears defense, to be honest. I think it shows that their secondary is still a little weak. I think it shows that they can be exploited. I think essentially what I mean from that is if like it was just Brock Osweiler was just on that day, just hitting all those passes, then you can live with that a little bit more. I think ultimately, I think the Bears will be okay taking this L, but they cannot really afford in the coming weeks to keep making the same mistakes.
Yeah, especially in that competitive NFC North, you want all the wins that you can get. So when you get to play a bad Dolphins team, you definitely want to beat them. But, you know, those things happen and you drop a game that you weren't expecting. You just they've got to learn from that. They've got to get better and move on. But I will say giving up 500 yards of offense to the Dolphins is not a good look for that defense. And it's definitely something that needs to turn around moving forward.
Yeah, I would definitely agree, especially with the Patriots coming up next week. If they do anything like that this week, we will be absolutely destroyed by the Patriots. But one thing I want to mention is Trubisky actually had a fantastic game for the second time in a row. He came out he was missing some throws in the first quarter. I will admit that wholeheartedly. But after that, he was dead on with his throws. He was making some very, very tight coverage throws into triple coverage and double coverage all over the field. It was quite amazing and something very positive for the Bears fans. And that's kind of a reason why I wasn't terribly upset with the game, is because I really wanted to see Trubisky follow up his Tampa Bay performance with another good performance this week. So if you're looking for a positive in a very terrible situation, there it is.
Another possible positive, I saw that every time the Bears have won the Super Bowl or made it to the Super Bowl, they first had to lose in Miami. So who knows? That
is a fair point as well. Something else I wanted to bring up, another kind of guessing game. What would you say Miami has not been that good of a team these past couple years. In the past 17 games played in Miami, what do you think the record is?
I couldn't tell you, but it's got to be pretty bad.
Past 17 games played in Miami?
Yep.
Talking about the Bears specifically?
No, I'm talking about Miami playing at home.
Oh, I think they're surprisingly good. No, maybe like 9-7.
14-3.
Wow.
Yes.
Really?
That stadium is specifically designed in a way that the entire game the sun beats down on the opposing team's bench, and teams have described it as being absolutely horrible to play there because of the conditions. So, again, another positive. Again, we should not have lost that game 100%. That was a very poor defensive performance. And specifically, some guys I want to point to is Eddie Jackson and Adrian Amos, two probably the strength of the Bears secondary being the safeties, and their tackling this week was just absolutely terrible, and I have no idea why it is. It's very uncharacteristic of them.
That's what I'm saying. A one-off week, but they just can't afford to have it happen that often.
I completely agree.
I will say I did just gain a lot of respect for Miami. I didn't realize they were that good at home. So props to you, Miami.
Yeah, really. And I think Adam Gase has also a ridiculously high win total in Miami. And I think Brady has an actually terrible one too. So Miami, you're doing really damn good at home. Maybe you should figure out how to win on the road. But yeah. We talked about the Jaguars earlier. They lose to the Cowboys 40-7. And my big question for this is, what the hell is happening? We talked about this a little bit earlier, but are the Jaguars really just a bad team at this point?
I wouldn't call the Jaguars a bad team by any means. They have a lot of pros. They have a really talented defense. And with Fournette healthy, I think that offense could be serviceable. But, yeah, I mean, they've had a couple bad injuries, and they just haven't played as good as they thought they would. But they're still very much in that division, and who knows where they'll be by the end of the year. But, yeah, definitely not an ideal start for Jacksonville.
The AFC South is such a weak division that it's they could probably win it going 9-7. So,
fair point.
I mean, they definitely have a good enough defense that can take them. I know they had a bad game, but I think really that offense needs to come out. Blake Bortles needs to come out this next game, throw some touchdown passes, and give that defense something to feel good about, so that every time they walk out the field, it gives them a little bit of motivation, or if they do well, they'll actually win. I feel like right now they feel like, hey, there's being a good defense to be a good defense.
They need to find a way to make their offense not be ran through Blake Bortles in one way or another. I don't know if that means more screen passes or less difficult throws, but if you can just get Blake Bortles to not turn the ball over, I think it'll be pretty good.
Ultimately, yeah. Just don't put the defense in situations where they're the team's already in positive territory.
All right, so the Packers this week, they barely beat the 49ers 33-30 at home with a comeback from Aaron Rodgers. They were trailing in most of that game. And that brings up the question, are the Packers going to make the playoffs? Now, they play in one of the best divisions in football. A lot of people believe it is the best division. I think this year has kind of proven that the division isn't as good as people were making it out to be. But again, with talented teams like the Bears and Vikings currently being ahead of them, what do you think?
Yeah, if you would ask me at the start of the season, you ask me now, my answer is going to be the same. It's probably not, but definitely maybe. I don't think that Packers defense is good at all. And for them to give up 30 points to a very, very injured 49ers offense is pretty bad. Aaron Rodgers, I don't know how much he'll be able to carry them. But then again, he's trying to make his case for best quarterback in the NFL, and I think he's doing a fantastic job. So we'll see how far he can carry them. Will it be to the playoffs? At this time, I would say no. But again, yeah, I think it's possible.
Yeah, I think the Packers are. I don't see them winning this division. Aaron Rodgers cannot continue to bail the team out. I mean, let's not forget that a couple weeks ago, Rodgers not playing that well. He had kind of an off game.
Yeah, definitely.
I think we're going to see more of those down the stretch too. This is a Packers team that's going to struggle. I think best case scenario, they end up just on the positive side. I could definitely see them going 8-8. I could see him taking some games from big teams, but I don't see him pulling off like a playoff run. I simply don't. Like Ryan said, defense is too bad. Well, they do have weapons for Rodgers to pass to.
The number 2 wide receiver in the league.
Yeah, according to me. So, yeah. Right, he has Devontae Adams. He's got some other people he can throw the ball to. But I just don't see it.
What concerns me most about this Packers team has to do with the fact that most of these games that they're struggling in have been at home. And Lambeau has one of the greatest home field advantages of any team in the NFL. It's a very difficult place to play in, and especially when the weather gets rough, it makes it even more difficult. But again, they're going to be facing the Bears at home, the Vikings at home, I believe the Lions at home. It may be pretty difficult for them, honestly. And I don't know. It depends. It depends if this Bears offense can continue to improve and get more stable as the time goes on. Because right now, in my book at least, I see the Bears and Vikings being the teams leading the division.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's Bears and Vikings all the way. It's between them two. And I think the Bears ultimately end up taking it.
I would echo that. I'm going to give it to the Bears at the moment, too. But I definitely think the Vikings are going to take a playoff spot.
See, I'm not as confident as you guys are. I could definitely see the Vikings winning it. I could probably see the Bears winning it. And I don't know if it's just me being depressed off this last loss, but I don't know. We need to find some sort of stability for sure if we want to take that spot. And we're going to have to play well in the division.
Definitely.
Any other games you guys want to talk about that you noticed last week?
I just want to say that shout out to the Rams for still just keep chugging along at this point, being the only undefeated team. Of course, the Patriots knocking off the Chiefs. Gotta give credit where credit's due. I think Rams right now definitely deserve the crown for best team in the league. I really like the way they're looking, just a balanced team. To be honest, I haven't spent enough time watching them, but I think ultimately a team that's not overly exciting or doesn't always stimulate you is still a good thing. So you look at like the Patriots teams over the years that just kind of chunk their way down the field, but they're so brutal and so great in the way that they just march down the field and have these great drives, but at the same time they can be clutch and score. And we've also seen the Rams be kind of put up against it early on. So credit to them for really kind of overcoming and still just plugging along and staying unbeaten. Shout out to the Los Angeles Rams, number 1 team in LA right now. I know, Austin, you texted me earlier today talking about whether or not the Chargers should move. I think the Chargers should move back to San Diego. I think that's their real home. I think that's where they have the most fans. So, yeah.
Yeah, big shout out to the Rams. I'll echo that. This was the first week I didn't get to watch the game, which I was very sad about. But I'm glad that Todd Gurley was able to pull it out for him. To talk about a different team, I want to give a shout out to the Chiefs. Even though they lost, they battled right there with the Patriots. Patrick Mahomes played great again, so gave me a lot of confidence with them going into the playoffs if they can meet again.
Yeah. I'm going kind of off that.
Hopefully, not to cut you off, Austin.
No, you're good.
I think they're going to be the 2 teams. Ultimately, I think if they're 1 and 2 seeds, I want to see them in the AFC Championship game. I want to see the best team come out. I want to see the best team play in the Super Bowl. That's what I want.
I do think a Chiefs-Rams Super Bowl would be probably the most interesting Super Bowl that I've seen in a long time. I feel like 2 great offensive minds with Andy Reid and Sean McVay. That would be an absolutely great Super Bowl to watch. I would definitely pick the Rams to beat that, considering their defense is miles ahead of where Kansas City's defense is at. And, I kind of want to give more props to the Rams. Something that I don't know if we directly talked about last week was that Sean McVay going for it on 4th and 1 on his own 30 in overtime against the Seattle Seahawks. And I thought that was just an absolutely great move for him and really shows the aggressive mindset that he brings to the team.
Yeah. Shout out to Sean McVay. I mean, I like the youth and coaching, and I like the new ideas ultimately. I think the NFL has kind of been dominated by the same few ideas over the years. And I think football ultimately it's a beautiful game as far as the way tactics work out. And the amazing amount of things you can do with 11 players on the field at one time, still within the rule book. So I think like whenever anyone comes in with fresh new ideas, especially in the NFL, where I think people are just too afraid to do new things when they really shouldn't be. I think shout out to Sean McVay. I want to see him keep coaching. I think this man for sure is going to win a Super Bowl in his coaching career.
Completely agree.
The question is it this year or not? So I think that's where it's just a waiting game for Sean McVay.
Yeah, shout out to Sean McVay, and on the other end of the age spectrum, shout out to Wade Phillips. Still doing it, beating his former team that he got a Super Bowl for.
Are we also concerned? I know this is kind of a bad week to bring it up because they did come pretty close to beating the Rams with Denver. But what is wrong with Denver? Is it just Case Keenum? Because in my eyes, it kind of is. It kind of all starts and stops with Case Keenum.
Well, that defense looked pretty good against the Rams from what I saw. They brought really good pressure on Jared Goff. It was probably the best performance I've seen this year of them bottling him up. So, yeah, again, I really don't know where last year came from, but man, I don't think Case Keenum, unfortunately, is not the guy to lead a team.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think there's too much else to say. I mean, I think the Broncos offense kind of just lacks depth and kind of weapons in a way. Not 100%. I mean, they have Emmanuel Sanders and all. A decent cast around them, but it's just not – it's not the Broncos offense that we're used to from like 3-4 years ago. Definitely a totally different quarterback. No Peyton Manning back there anymore swinging around, So, yeah, I think it does fall squarely on Case Keenum. Still a great defense there in Denver, though, for sure.
Definitely. Okay, well, that leads us to our next category, which is there's been a lot of players rumored to be on the trade block and confirmed to be on the trade block. And I sent you guys a list of them, and here's what we have right now. There are, of course, this is ever-changing, but Patrick Peterson, he was confirmed to be on the trade block. Amari Cooper and Carl Joseph, 2 Raiders players. Le'Veon Bell. And there's also many more players, but let's start with that. So, first things first, where do you think Patrick Peterson will be traded, and if so, where will he be traded?
I mean, the Cardinals weren't afraid to get rid of Tyrann Mathieu, so I wouldn't imagine that they'll be afraid to get rid of Patrick Peterson, but he has been the face of that defense for a while. But I think that they want to really start fresh, get younger. They could get a big haul back for Patrick Peterson, so I could see it happening.
I could see it happening, but I don't think it'll happen for one reason. That one reason being you still got to sell some tickets. So this is a business. And well, maybe if you give Josh Rosen some starts and being like, oh, check out the new quarterback, they might sell some, but ultimately people want a star player to go and see. And those fans are pretty used to having someone excellent, great athlete like Patrick Peterson. You get rid of him, like fans are just going to be like, why even bother show up? So I think Patrick Peterson stays.
Okay, and Ryan, you said you believe that he will be traded?
If I had to put money on it right now, I would put money against it, but I said I definitely could see it happening.
If he were to be traded, where could you see him possibly landing?
Well, let's think about what competitive teams are in the need for a cornerback.
Bears.
Bears, you said?
Yeah. I don't know if they got
I couldn't see the Bears. I couldn't see the Bears doing that.
I'm comfortable with Amukamara and Fuller personally.
Yeah, no way that they would waste their still somewhat limited capital getting Peterson. They'd have to give up too much.
I can see Amukamara getting burned. That's definitely the weak side of the defense.
It's definitely weaker over Fuller, but I still don't think Amukamara is a bad corner. He's played, I think this year at least, he's played really well. Last year he had more struggles, I feel like. Of course, I would rather have Patrick Peterson over Prince Amukamara, though. If we get Patrick Peterson, I would not be complaining whatsoever. So
I could see Green Bay trying to make that move.
Me too. That's what I was going to say.
Invested so heavily in their cornerbacks in the draft, though. I don't think they are going to trade for one right away.
That's true as well.
Very real point. They do have a lot of actually, like, I know Green Bay's defense is bad, but give them a couple years and that, like, secondary could be lethal. I mean,
it could. It's young and inexperienced, but it could be good in the future.
You've seen flashes of it, too, like, even on special teams. So,
like Jair Alexander, he looks like he's definitely got a lot of elite level traits. Just matter if he develops well. Okay, so now we'll move on to Amari Cooper. Personally, I see him being one of the more likely candidates to being traded, considering this Oakland team is really kind of seems like trying to blow itself up at this point after a absolutely terrible loss to the Seahawks. I heard that Oakland wants a first-round pick for him, though, which I personally would not give up. But a team that I could see possibly landing him, one of them is the Packers. Devontae Adams has not done that well, and you could really upgrade over Geronimo Allison, even though he's been having a pretty good year. But yeah, what do you guys think?
go ahead, Ryan. You can go first. I got it.
Okay, well, I think that the Raiders definitely should trade Amari Cooper. I actually think that they will trade Amari Cooper. They should probably just strip down their parts and restart since they already traded Mac. But another team I could definitely see getting in on him is the Ravens. I already complimented Crabtree, and Willie Snead hasn't been too bad for him, but they could definitely bolster that receiving core. It's not the strongest if they wanted to give Flacco more support. So I would look at the Ravens as being a team interested in Cooper.
How about this? A little Le'Veon Bell for Amari Cooper. Swap.
No way. No
I don't
way
think the
Steelers
Raiders would. I really don't think the Raiders would do it either.
Why not, man?
The Raiders, I think, would.
Sell some tickets, man. And then the Patriots or the
All about selling tickets, man.
Ends. Antonio Brown on one side and Amari Cooper on the other. A fast little guy in a tank. Good. Why not?
The more you talk about it, the more I can see it. But it would look really stupid, I think, to try to go into a rebuild by trading one of your best players and just getting another good player that you're going to have to pay a massive contract immediately. From Oakland's side, I don't think, if they're trying to rebuild, I don't think it would fit their philosophy to do that.
Yeah, I don't think it actually makes much sense for Oakland either. But also on the Steelers side, I wouldn't even say Amari Cooper would get the start at the second receiver slot over Juju. So it's just not a move I think they're going to make. There's other areas of their team that they need to fix, not wide receiver.
How about the Cowboys?
Receiver formation.
How about the Cowboys?
Three wide receiver formation. You pick the two you want to split out wide. You can make either Smith-Schuster, if the team's playing cover two, let him run right down the middle. He's got that speed. But you got a linebacker placed over him, that's game over. When the team's playing a base 4-3, you're literally force the team to switch to nickel. And then you can let James Conner run. It's a matchup night.
It would be.
It would be for sure. If you could put Amari Cooper in the slot, I mean, I guess you have talked me into it a little bit because now it's sounding pretty nice.
Yeah.
It would be a luxury for the Steelers, it's not something they have to do, but if Oakland is willing to take some, maybe a third round pick, second round pick, or a collection of picks, maybe they do it.
Now that I said it, I think they should do it.
You know what? You've really changed my mind. You really convinced me. I'm very pro Le'Veon for Amari Cooper at this point.
All right, so a team that I think, another team, I mentioned the Packers before. What about the Dallas Cowboys? They don't really have much going on those outside wide receivers. Dak has definitely been struggling by his own fault or not. Would adding him make sense?
No, the Cowboys definitely shouldn't be trading what assets they have at this point.
You just think they're so far away that it doesn't make sense.
They're so far from being able to compete that it's just not worth it. It's not going to put them in the playoffs. It's not going to put them in the discussion to get Amari Cooper. So they should just say what they have as far.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so going off that, once again, Carl Joseph, he was the safety for Oakland. I'm actually pretty sure he was a first-round pick. Don't quote me on that, though. But he's also rumored as being available. Do you see any potential landing spots for him, and would you trade him as well?
The fact that Eric Reed sat on free agency for so long before the Panthers finally picked him up shows that I don't think the need for safeties is that great right now. So I don't know if any team will actually want to go out and trade Carl Joseph. We'll see.
Yeah, I know last trade deadline we saw Jay Ajayi get moved, but I just like stars getting moved in the trade deadline is not like a usual occurrence. I don't see
So at all.
I don't see anything really happening. I mean, ultimately, I think there are definitely teams out there that could use a safety, but like I said, man, like I forgot who I was talking about this with originally, but you have to find ways to fit them into the system. Like Josh Gordon is still going through this right now for Patriots. Luckily, they got him somewhat early. But these people need to learn the playbooks, and that's something that people spend all training camp doing. So essentially, they have to redo this kind of on the fly. It's just, it's not optimal. And I think a lot of teams, that's the reason why a lot of teams opt not to do it.
I somewhat disagree with you guys. I think this offseason we saw a major, major trade influx from NFL teams, starting with the Rams, continuing on to the Browns, the Bears trading for Khalil Mack. The league is more willing to change now, which is something that we haven't really seen in the past. I do think that some of these players could definitely move before the trade deadline. As far as Carl Joseph goes, I don't really see it. I don't know if teams are that eager. Again, like Ryan said, safeties have been really devalued this offseason. I don't know if teams are going to be willing to do that. Okay, and then continuing on with another Raider once again, Gareon Conley, who was benched last week. Their first-round pick from last year, Ohio State star cornerback Gareon Conley was benched last week. I think that just shows that Oakland Raiders do not have a really good coaching staff, because when you have a receiver like Conley who had a lot of talent like he did, and you're not getting any type of development from that guy, same with Amari Cooper, no development, same with Carl Joseph, no development, that looks really, really poor on your developmental coaching staff. But again, do you see Gareon Conley possibly being traded? Or is he just not good enough for it to happen?
Trading your first-round pick the year after you took bad, I think they'll try to work that guy out for a while before they give up on him.
Yeah, the return on investment is not going to be what you want it to be. You might as well ride it out.
That's exactly what I was going to say for that one. But another thing I want to mention, the Raiders are kind of showing that they're willing to enter this rebuild, and a lot of reports have been saying that they're looking to rebuild. Can someone please explain to me why Reggie McKenzie, who just tried to rebuild the team, is going to be rebuilding the team once again? How do you go through another rebuild with the same GM that did a quite terrible job at his first rebuild. I do not get that. That sounds like a horrible idea.
I mean, if it's not working out for you, there's really only one option. At least into a rebuild. I mean, some teams sit in mediocrity forever. They don't win anything. I think in the American athletic system, where you're rewarded for not being good is a good way to eventually become good.
Yeah. In general, I usually always encourage mediocre teams to rebuild because it's the best way to become better in the future. But the way that the Raiders only became relevant for about a year after their rebuild, I don't trust that front office to do it again. So who knows, man, what the Raiders are up to. But
it's
safe to say they'll be bad for a while.
It seems like a terrible idea to go through another rebuild with the same front office who just proved that they were incapable of doing that. What is Mark Davis thinking?
Different head coach, though.
That's true. I mean, maybe Gruden has the keys to the car. Who knows?
Mark Davis moving to Las Vegas. That's all I was thinking about. So. That's all.
True. All right, and then probably the biggest name on this list besides Patrick Peterson, Le'Veon Bell. Do you think he will be traded before the trade deadline?
Yeah, the Raiders for Mike Cooper.
All right.
Yes, definitely it's happening.
It's a done deal at this point. I think we'll probably see Ian Rappaport reporting on this very soon, probably within the hour.
Within the hour. All right, guys. So,
sure, by the time they're hearing this, they've already heard the news. So
yeah, exactly.
It is Wednesday, October 17th, 2018, at 11:26 p.m. Central Time. Just to get that marked down.
Amazing. Yeah, we record very, very late. We do not have a lot of time. We're very busy men.
Yeah, very busy.
We just research football all day, and then we come on this podcast late at night after we're done with our research.
Frankly, they're all blessed to have us, to have our presence.
Okay, Ryan, what do you think about Le'Veon Bell?
Again, I'm going to just say what I said last week. I think James Conner is a really good option for the Steelers moving forward. They have him on a rookie deal. He's producing fantastically, and they really should trade Le'Veon Bell. And I'm sure there's a team out there that would go for him and that would be willing to pay him. So I'm expecting it to happen.
And what team do you view? What team do you view it as?
What team do I think he'll go to? Yeah, that's the question. A lot of the competitive teams, I don't know if they're going to be willing to pay him. And a lot of the bad teams, I don't know if it's going to be worth it for them to trade for him. So if I had to pick one team to focus in on, I would maybe look at the Eagles. I know they thought about it. It could be the splashy move that they need to get back in it. And then they'd just have to let Jay Ajayi walk and kind of write that one off.
Yeah, I could definitely see the Eagles. I also am on this Le'Veon Bell should be traded boat. I don't see him adding all that much more to the Steelers this year. I don't see them bringing them over the hump to possibly winning the Super Bowl. So it just makes the most sense to trade him, get what you can for him now instead of letting him just voluntarily walk in free agency. And the team that I'm calling to trade for him, and I want to trade for him, is the Chicago Bears. I am tired of Jordan Howard. Easily the most overrated Chicago Bear on the team by far. I am so tired of hearing about him. He, in my eyes right now, has been one of the lower rated running backs through this year. Fumbled at the 1 yard line or the goal line last week. And I think he's a good running back. Do not get me wrong, but I do not think he is a good running back in Matt Nagy's scheme. We need a running back that is able to threaten the edges of the offensive line. Jordan Howard has really terrible lateral movement. And what I see is when Jordan Howard is in the game, teams are just willingly going at Trubisky and Howard, doing full-on blitzes because they don't. If they do that, they're able to affect both Trubisky and then also predict a run. So, and also, not to mention, Jordan Howard also has really bad. Well, he's gotten a lot better at catching the ball, but even when he gets the ball, if it's off of a blitz on like a dump off, he's not good enough in open space that teams really worry about him. It just makes it easy for teams to just target Trubisky, and it makes really the entire offense take a step back, I see. And I don't think that Tariq Cohen can handle the entire load of the offense. So, I want to preface this though. One thing, do not give up a first-round pick in the future. The most I would really give up is a second-round pick, and then I don't know if the Steelers would be willing to actually take on Jordan Howard if that's something they're looking for as a compliment to James Conner.
I don't think it would be Jordan Howard. It would be a non-running back.
Or
I don't see that being part of the deal.
Or I would trade.
The Bears could give up one of their linebackers.
That's true. We could possibly do that. Or what I would do is trade Jordan Howard to the Eagles, who are currently looking for a running back right now, it seems, and package the picks you get from that and an additional second-round pick, because we do have 2 second-round picks in 2020. Package that and get Le'Veon Bell, because that offense, all that we're missing is our version of Todd Gurley, which is Le'Veon Bell. So that's my little rant about Jordan Howard and the reason I think Le'Veon Bell should be a Bear.
Mine's less of a rant, but I think they should bring back Jeremy Langford. That guy was a running back.
That dude is making the Ravens run right now. All his contributions this offseason really took him to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah, watch out, Ron. Maybe the Bears made a mistake. We'll see.
We'll have to see. The Bears are able to get rid of a couple players, clear up some cap too, so I don't think cap will be an issue. It just is a matter of, I think Ryan, what he said a couple weeks ago, it's going to be a matter of capital, draft capital. All
yes,
right.
sir.
So our last segment that we have is some notable upcoming games and predictions. I have a short list here, and then you guys can add in any other games you're looking at this week. But the first one I want to start out with is Saints at Ravens.
I got the Ravens in that one. I think they continue playing well, and I think Drew Brees may be feeling himself a little too much after setting all those records. And I think the Ravens beat them in a close game.
Yeah, this one is actually the start of a pretty tough stretch for the Saints. I think their next chunk of games, they play teams like the Rams, Vikings, Falcons, and probably I think there's another good team in there too. But yeah, I'm really looking for these. I think this game will be very telling for both these teams. And the way that the Ravens are playing right now, I'm going to go with the Ravens. But the Saints are hot too, and I'm expecting it to be a really good game.
Yeah, I think that I bet against the Saints a lot throughout this year because they don't have a very great defense. But I'm kind of just feeling the Saints right now. I think the Ravens might be kind of like what you were saying with Drew Brees. I think the Ravens might be feeling themselves a little bit too much in this game after coming off that 11-sack performance. And I think Drew Brees is going to really bring them back down to earth for that game. I really like what they're doing on offense. I mean, we've talked about Alvin Kamara, easily one of the most entertaining players in the NFL. And then having Michael Thomas at receiver, they have a really good offense.
Without a doubt.
I'm a huge Alvin Kamara fan. He's so fun to watch.
Okay, and moving on, I actually think this is probably the best game of the week. Maybe it's just because I'm a Bears fan, but Bears at Patriots.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a great one to watch. I think the Bears have a great opportunity of.
It's at Chicago, by the way. It's in Chicago.
Yeah, I think the Bears have a great opportunity of taking advantage of a team that played the Chiefs last week and had a similar system in place. I think they can really see how the Patriots react to that. And I expect the Bears to win, surprisingly. I very rarely pick against the Patriots. I think they're a great team. But I think the Bears eke out one, and I think they actually get some pressure on Brady, too. I think Brady's going to be feeling the heat quite a bit. Not saying he'll struggle too much, but I think when it gets to crunch time, I think the Bears are going to be able to get Brady on the ground.
Before I say anything about this game, do we know if Khalil Mack is going to play?
Khalil Mack is currently listed as day-to-day. He tweaked his ankle a little bit in the Miami Dolphins game. He did end up playing through the rest of the game, didn't look completely healthy. He did not practice today. However, Khalil Mack is a pretty tough guy. I think it would be hard to keep him off the field. He's a very passionate player.
Yeah, that's who I'm looking at as probably the deciding factor in this game. If the Bears get Khalil Mack and they get consistent pressure on Brady, I agree with you, Reese. I definitely could see them pulling out a W. And they need it after that bad loss last week. They need a big bounce back, and beating the Patriots would be just perfect for them.
Yeah, I agree with what you guys are saying. Reese, you actually said something that I was going to bring up. Having the luxury of watching a very similar system of theirs go up against the Patriots last week is very beneficial to see and very beneficial to learn off of. I think that gives them a little bit of an advantage there. Also, the Patriots, all of their losses have came on the road this year to the Lions, and I can't remember what other team they lost to, but both of those came on the road. So that gives me a little bit more faith. And so far, the Bears defense has played the best at home. So I do think that Khalil Mack might end up being the factor that swings the game, though. I think if Khalil Mack is playing, it adds a completely different dimension to this defense, and it can really hinge on that. But I just think it'll be interesting to see how Tom Brady reacts to a really good defense, because I don't think he's played too many good defenses this year. And the one good defense they played, it was the Jaguars that they lost to. Yeah, so the next game, this game is kind of interesting to me because they're two teams that have really been struggling, and it seems like they're really trying to fight through it right now to possibly try to get a playoff berth or at least not look like a laughingstock. It's the New York Giants at the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, it's on the Falcons. I'm still thinking about how I made the Super Bowl just 2 years ago, and they made it even past the Rams in the playoffs last year. So they won last week against the Bucs, a big divisional win, and I think they'll easily get on track. I think this will be a laugher. Falcons have a lot more to play for right now than the Giants.
Yeah, I totally agree. I like the Falcons big in this one. Yeah, totally agree. They have a little bit to play for. Maybe they can try to claw their way into the conversation a bit. Not going to happen, though. But, yeah, Falcons are a better team. That ultimately is what it comes down to right now. Falcons are playing better, probably better coached, better team. They're going to win.
Even though both teams have pretty bad defense so far this year, I do think the Atlanta Falcons are going to win this game. And specifically, I look at quarterback. I think that Matt Ryan, usually I do not follow the whole quarterback thing where the NFL always likes to make matchups about both the quarterbacks, like it's only the quarterbacks matching up. But I do think that this game really, the resulting factor will be the quarterbacks. And I think that I would much rather have Matt Ryan than Eli Manning at this point in their careers, and I think every single other person on this planet would as well. So I think that's going to swing the game, and yeah, but something that I saw is Devontae Freeman being put on IR this week. That is another devastating blow to this Atlanta Falcons team, who already is riddled with injuries.
Tevin Coleman's been really good at times in the past filling in for Devonta. He has not been so good this year so far. So looking at Tevin Coleman to step it up if the Falcons want to get back in the playoff picture.
Yeah, I think I think Coleman playing well or not, I still think the Falcons got it, though. Going forward, though, that's a major for sure. The Giants are just that bad. I don't think it'll make a difference.
Okay, so do you guys, that's all the games that I have written down. Do you guys have any games you want to bring up?
Yeah, I'm looking at the Panthers, who just lost to the Redskins, falling to 3-2. Now they have to go and play the Eagles. The Eagles just won to get back to 500, so I think this could be the makings for a pretty good game of two teams that would really like to win.
Yeah, I think that would be a good game to watch. I just want to give a quick shout out to the Chargers playing the Titans. I feel like it could be a scrappy game. I like the Chargers, though. But definitely not discounting the Titans from the game because they kind of like to play ugly, seemingly. So,
would love to see a few touchdowns from the Titans this week. Do something interesting.
Or not. It's fine.
Honestly, if the Chargers lose to the Titans, who has already been declared as the most boring team by the Truth Podcast, I will really probably be jumping off this Chargers bandwagon that I've been riding a little bit. I really want to see this Chargers team succeed because they have so much talent, but they need to win these games. And I think this is a game that they really need to win to prove to me that they can beat these bad teams when they need to.
Fair enough.
And we'll see if they can.
Yep.
Until then, shout out Delaware.
Yeah, shout out Delaware. Shout out all our other listeners out here that are catching on to us early. Catching on to a good thing. So make sure you keep tuning in because you were here first. Day
Make
one.
sure to send it to all your friends, too. They would love to hear it.
100%. The best thing out here right now.
Most definitely. And last week we made the proclamation that if we didn't have any Cincinnati viewers in our last show, that we would not like the Cincinnati Bengals anymore. And currently our viewer count from Cincinnati is still 0, so you will not be hearing any more good things from the Bengals for the rest of the season.
I haven't seen any proof that someone out there is not a Bengals fan, so I'm still
that is
keep
a fair
talking
point.
about the Bengals.
That's a fair point.
Fair enough.
That is a fair point for sure. But yeah, really, thank you guys for everyone who's listening. We really appreciate it. We definitely need all the listeners we can at this point. And each one of you are highly valued right now. It would be great if you guys could share us on your social media or whatever you got. We'd really appreciate it. And then once we hopefully make it pretty big, then you guys can say you were here first. So thank you guys so much for listening. It was another great week of discussion about the NFL topics, and we will be right back here next week. See you guys later.